we have a young man here with us, and I want to go ahead. I want to go ahead and trade places with him. I want to go ahead and bring him here because I do want him right here, sitting next in the middle of us, because he himself went through the traumatic event that we hear over and over and over again from our victims, and we just want to let everyone know that this young man has been affected severely by it, along with every other victim and along with every other family. So please go ahead and introduce yourself and please tell your story.
My name is Rainier Villaverde. I'm a student at the University of Houston, also a resident of Houston. I am 22 years old. About a week ago, what I thought was going to be a fun, memorable event with my friends, turned out to be this complete historic catastrophe that the world's been feeling for quite some time now since it happened. Specifically, my personal experience, I was having a great time up until the end, where, the last set was performed by, Travis Scott and Drake, and, I was having a great time with my friends up until, the performance started getting a little crazy and the crowd got out of control, as I'm sure you're all aware and seen multiple videos and images of. And once, and during the performance and when things got out of control, I witnessed many things. Probably the worst thing I witnessed was, the inability of, the staff members at the concert and not only the performers on stage, but the, staff members and, the whole security basically not being able to control or contain, any part of the crowd basically. And, just watching that disorganization, put so many lives at risk, it was really like unsettling to be a part of that whole situation. And that was just what I witnessed from what I knew at the concert. It actually wasn't until the next morning when I realized that 8 people had been reported killed at the concert, which made me reflect on which made me and my friends reflect on how badly it was set up and mishandled. And during the concert, especially during that last performance, it was really hard to it was really hard for myself to control my body in the crowd. And I'm over 6 feet. I'm 170 pounds, and I was definitely not the smallest person there. So if you didn't have the height advantage or the weight advantage, and I'm pretty skinny myself, so seeing younger people there, seeing women there, seeing them, even just a couple inches shorter and a few pounds lighter than me, like completely not able to, fend for themselves and just like be at the mercy of like piles and piles of bodies and stuff. Like it was just like, pretty, traumatizing to witness. All these people like not being in control of themselves, just like who were there to have a good time, but due to the disorganization, I guess, and like lack of control, like there was really nothing anybody who was in the crowd can do. A little more into my experience after the fact. It tore up my body a lot. My upper back, my shoulders, and the middle of my back are the sorest they've ever been. Like I'm pretty beat up from it. I can't, it's hard for me to get out of bed and do my day-to-day responsibilities. Hard to make sudden movements, et cetera, et cetera. But the most important thing I do want to address is the fact that it's definitely as tough it is to admit. I did see myself as and regard myself as a positive person before this event. But ever since the event, it's kind of hard to stay focused. Not only on my day-to-day responsibilities, but my happiness in general, because the toll that this has taken, like on not just myself but the community. It's it's good to be able to like speak for people who may not have the opportunity to, but it's definitely taking a toll on the community and Houston as a whole. Even like the country, the world in general, just like taking an external view on what happened here, and it's definitely affected everybody, and it's definitely essential that, or I feel it's essential that everybody who was a part of that, or was unluckily is able to get the help that they need, and have their voice heard in whatever way they can, so that we can help each other move on.
I have a quick question for you, because a lot of people suffered injuries, and like you did, physical injuries. But tell us a little bit about the feelings, or if you had any fear when the surge happened. We've talked to so many people when the surge, when the last set, and obviously it was the secret performer that came out that everybody recognized, and that surge became so violent and so pressured forward. Did you have fear, or tell us a little bit of that? Even though you said you're taller than the average person,
Right. Yeah. So.
But tell us about that.
Of course. Yeah. So going back to that part, like I mentioned, like if you didn't have like certain physical attributes, like you were basically out of control completely. So yeah, there was definitely a majority of that whole set. Like I was basically at the mercy of the crowd, basically. And I definitely, had fears of, whether or not I was going to be knocked off my feet, because if you didn't stay on your 2 feet, that was basically the only thing that, people were focused on, is just staying on your 2 feet, because once that's taken away, like...
Right, when you say stay on your 2 feet, and he's correct, Benny's correct, that wave was just the surge, the wave of the bodies rocking back and forth, where you had to stay on your feet, and if you got waved in this direction and your feet came out from underneath you, and you were going to be trampled. To describe that, what you saw when people were getting trampled when they lost control of the wave.
Sure. So like, getting trampled is like kind of like an understatement. Like, if you were small enough, and nobody's really noticing whatever's under them besides their own 2 feet, trying to stay on it. So I mean, if you got knocked over, not only did you get trampled, but other people were falling on you, and I even saw at one point. A person actually got helped up off the ground who was being trampled like by people, and then underneath them was just somebody who was just flat out laying like face first down. Like, so there was not only a person on the floor, but there was a person under them who was pinned down, who who could possibly even been dead.
You touched on this a little bit, but what do you hope comes out of this?
Excellent question. So, like a lot of people, a lot of people are calling for a bunch of things, but to answer your question personally, I think that, it should be, strictly and immediately addressed and, handled in, every single regard. And this isn't something that should, be addressed like a couple times a month, like in, following the legal calendar or whatever, the legal timeline of things, as it probably will. Conversely, I think it should be, being addressed, daily in terms of what's being done to, not only make reparations for, the community, but for each and every person that was involved in the tragedy.